Hey, everybody. I'm sorry about that. Little technical snafu. But hi and welcome to this YouTube town hall with the State Bar. I'm Peter Bolak. I'm the executive director. Um, we have a great presentation for you today, and thank you for all of you who have decided to spend your afternoon 30 minutes or so with us to learn about the CLE rules and have us answer your questions. We have our CLE team standing by in the office, ready to answer all of your live questions. It's Lauren Steins is our CLE managing director. Lauren, you got the team there. Do you want to have them all say hello? Yep. I guess they can't hear me. You need to have some volume on there, Lauren. Um, yep. You guys can everyone see me now?
Yes, Peter, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's working.
Okay.
We just had a delay.
Okay. Lauren, you want to have everybody say hello in the CLE room?
Yes.
Hey, okay, that's Nicole, Lori, Emily, Kelly, Joe. We've got a good group here. So send us your questions, post your questions in the chat. I'm going to go through some of the CLE rules and some of the stuff you need to know, and then we'll answer any questions that you guys might have. Lauren, you might want to be following along with the Zoom volume and not the YouTube volume if you want to hear me live while I'm talking. Okay, so the CLE rules, these rules went into effect in March of 2024. The CLE year for 2024 is ending at the end of February, and all of these rules are into effect. So you should have seen that you had the annual attendance fee instead of the credit hour, $3.50 credit hour fee. That would be paid in your dues process. This is a switch to a 2-year reporting period for half of you. The beginning next year, everyone will be on a 2-year period, but we've moved to a 2-year reporting period to where lawyers have to have 24 hours over 2 years, except for this year, in which half of the bar has to do a 1-year 12-hour requirement by the end of February. That way we create the stagger, so there's half of the bar coming due each year. I'll talk a little bit more detail about that in a second. You don't have to go in to the system and click a button to say that all of your records are correct. There's no annual report requirement anymore. We just need to get those hours done. There's nothing that you need to submit to verify that those hours, that your record is right. You're not going to get a late fee for failing to just submit an annual report. You've got to get those hours done by the end of February to avoid a late compliance fee. You're still going to have carryover credit. You'll be able to carry over 12 hours of credit from one reporting period to the next. The only change that is relates to carryover is that it only is going to carry over as part of your total hours requirement. So let's say you have 24 hours you have to do, and you have 12 hours of carryover. That will take a chunk out of your 24-hour total, but you still have to take ethics, technology, and professional well-being hours in your reporting period. It does not carry over as an ethics hour or a technology hour. It's only going to carry over as a total hour. So the board wanted to keep carryover credit, but also wanted to make sure lawyers were taking those specialty credits every reporting period and not loading up and skipping 2 or 3 years without having to take them. We have a 12-month CLE year. I don't know how many of you guys actually even knew that our old CLE year ended at the end of December, and we had a 2-month grace period instead of it just ending in February. Now the rules just say the CLE year ends at the end of February. It's a 12-month period. There's no grace period that you can do some courses that count for 2024 and some that count for 2025. It's just a straight 12-month period that ends at the end of February, and you've got to get your hours done by the end of February to avoid the fee. We're going to have a better enforcement process as one of the trade-offs for some of this flexibility. We're going to streamline that process to where if lawyers are not completing their hours on time, the process will move in a way to which you can be suspended or receive that notice to show cause and suspension order earlier in the year, so it's not, November, December, January of the next year before you even get potentially suspended for failing to take your hours. During this dues process that began in January, you had the ability to claim exemptions for 2025. If you claim your exemption, that wipes out your requirements and resets your reporting period to begin at the next year. You do not, if you have an exemption and you claim an exemption, you do not have any hours requirements. So you need to, make sure you take those exemptions. If you become exempt sometime later in the year and you've already paid your dues and you've already submitted that, you can go into your portal and claim an exemption at any time. I'll show you a picture of that here in a little bit. And then for sponsors, their sponsors have an online course application fee. This isn't the theme of today's town hall. Sponsors aren't the focus here, but there's an online course application fee for sponsors. You have this professional well-being requirement that you might see now and be confused because we've renamed it. It used to be the substance abuse mental health requirement. But in general, it's now the same type of definition, same type of course, but it's called the professional well-being requirement. If you're a specialist, make sure that you're still getting your hours done in the way that is required for your certification. These rules do not affect the requirements to maintain your specialty certification. So if you have to do a certain amount each year for that, you need to make sure that you still do that. In general, this is what your record would look like if you go into your portal. This is the best place to see what you owe and what reporting period you're in. If you were admitted in an even year like me, then you went right to a 2-year, 24-hour requirement. So this is my record here, just from this morning. I have to take 24 hours before the end of February 2026. I carried over hours from the last period, and I have taken some this period, and will have 3.5 that I need to get done by the end of February 2026. If you were admitted in an odd year, you have that 12-hour requirement. But it's good to go in and take a look and make sure your record is right and you have an understanding of what you need to get done before the end of the month. You can also, on the right side, under options, that's a place for you to go claim that exemption if you need to do that outside of the dues process. If you're looking for courses still this month, Lauren tells me that we have 18,000 plus approved courses for 2024 CLE year. So go in and search for something. We have a way, as new courses are coming in, the application process does allow us to search and find courses that are free or for certain types of categories like the professional well-being or ethics or tech. You can search for locations or online, on-demand courses. We're going to continue to improve this search feature to make it the most useful for lawyers going forward. If you don't get your hours done before the end of February, even if you then get them done on March 5th, you're going to be assessed the late compliance fee of $150. So there's no annual report requirement, and you're not going to be at risk of getting that annual report late fee, but you need to get those hours done by February, even if your record might not show it. And we'll talk about this. This is important. Your record at the end of the month might not show that you're in compliance because your sponsor of a course might not have, submitted the attendance report yet. But we will be able to see when that course was actually completed, and you will be, the determination of late compliance fees will be made after we give the time period for the sponsors to submit attendance from the end of the month. So you don't freak out if it's February 28th and you have taken 5 or 6 hours that aren't showing because you took them on February 22nd. That probably just means that the sponsor hasn't submitted the attendance report yet. It'll get updated, and then once we have that all of those records in, we'll be able to determine who completed their hours by the end of the month before we assess those late compliance fees. If you're still short by the end of May or by May, then you'll get that non-compliance fee, and we'll issue that suspension notice and notice to show cause that if you don't comply after 45 days after getting that, your suspension will become active, and you'll have to go through the reinstatement process and before you can start practicing again. So here's those details just in case we're unclear. If you're admitted in an odd year, you have a one-time, 1-year, 12-hour requirement. So it's pretty similar to what you would normally have to do in the past. You have 12 hours, 2 ethics hours. You have to take 1 professional well-being hour and 1 technology training hour. You got your carryover credit from 2023. We essentially let lawyers carry over all the carryover hours that they had for this year. And then after this year, beginning March 1, you'll go into that 2-year reporting period requirement. So lawyers in an odd year. As of earlier this week, I've told there's still about 1,500 lawyers who still owe hours by the end of this month. So those are lawyers admitted in an odd year who are still short of hours, at least as it shows on their record. 1,500 is not so bad because if you think about it, there's probably about 14 or 15,000 lawyers admitted in an odd year. So about 10% of the lawyers that are due this year still owe hours, according to the record. We're still plugging away, getting attendance reports put in. So it may be that there's, it's fewer lawyers than 1,500 just because the attendance isn't showing up yet. Lawyers in those even years, 98, 2012, you went right into that 2-year requirement. So you have 24 hours that are due at the end of February of 2026. Now, I recommend that you don't wait until February to try to have to take 24 hours. You can still take them anytime during this reporting period. You have a downtime, just knock some out. We originally, and I've said this before, we originally proposed to have a 3-year reporting period. The lawyers had to take 36 hours over 3 years. And we got a lot of comments from lawyers saying, how could you possibly do that? How am I going to take 36 hours in the last 2 weeks of February? Which I always respond to, you don't have to. You could take them over the whole 3 years. But we backed off and went to this 2-year 24-hour requirement. So make sure that you don't let that get you at the end of this next year, because that's a lot of hours to try to take in just a few weeks. Some things that we've heard, some of the frequently asked questions we've been getting, because this is new and there's confusion, is about carryover credit. And I talked about that. Make sure that you know that even if you've taken 12 hours of carryover credit, you still are going to have to take those ethics, technology, and professional well-being courses each reporting period. You need to take get your courses completed by February 28th. Your sponsors will submit attendance. You don't need to panic if it's not showing up on your record, because sponsors have 40 days to report attendance. So we're going to have to wait until, end of March here. Hopefully we can get sponsors to send them attendance in earlier, but we're gonna have to wait a while before we can assess who actually completed their hours by the end of the month. Even if you have completed your hours by the time we go to assess late compliance fees, you'll get a late compliance fee if you didn't do it by the end of February. So you need to make sure you get those done. And don't panic if they're not showing up on your record. If you know you've taken them, give it some time for the sponsors to get those attendance records reported. Someone asked about looking at the compliance chart. Yeah, I will tell you, one day we're going to get this all straightened up. This is like a class in accounting, trying to read what all of this means. So really, it's kind of like a chronological situation. You have at the top, it lists what your requirements are. This top line is not trying to calculate anything you've already done. This is just what your base requirements would be for that reporting period. Then the next line, if you had a deficit from a previous reporting period, it would show up here, and that would add to your total required hours for this reporting period. So let's say I was still 1 hour short from my last reporting period. This would show that I owed 25 hours instead of 24. Then it's like calculating a net out of a gross, so it takes that, shows anything that you've carried forward, your carryover credit, and then anything you've taken in this reporting period, totals all that up to what is applied. So 13 plus 750 shows me that I've applied 20 hours, 20 and a half hours to this reporting period. Subtracts that from what my total required is, and I still owe 3.5. Once I get over that and I start building up carryover credit for the next reporting period, this field will add up and it will show what I need, subtract that from what I need for the next reporting period. You can go in and go back and look at old reporting periods. Uh, the programming from all of this was, as you might imagine, difficult to try to have two sets of rules in effect at the same time. So no guarantees on what your old stuff looks like. We think it's right, honestly, but we're confident in what it's showing right now. If something looks off to you, not necessarily that you have a course that you just took that's not showing, but something from farther back, give us a call or shoot us an email. We realize that not everything is going to be perfect and hope that you give us some grace and patience as we get through this, this rule change. But I would love to one day we'll get this chart in a better format, maybe some easier to understand graphics to understand if you're in compliance or not in compliance with your requirements. So, one of the things you need to make sure you get done is your technology training. And if you are looking for a technology training hour, one of your options is the State Bar's Cybersecurity Self-Assessment. We launched this fall. It's free. Completing this gets you 1 hour of technology training credit, which is all you need. And it's a really great way for you to have kind of take a look at your IT and cybersecurity practices in your firm or where you work to, ensure that you're operating under, the most secure environment that you can. It is not a training. It is not, a guided course that teaches you. It really asks you questions and asks you to kind of take that look at your practices and what you're doing and write it all down. And it is completely anonymous, confidential. We are not looking at people's responses. We get some aggregate data at the end, but we don't get a copy of your cybersecurity self-assessment or use that in any way. That is for you and your firm to use to try to improve what you're doing. You can find that on our website, a link to it. It's on the State Bar's website. You'll find it on the cybersecurity self-assessment. Lawyers Mutual is a partner with us and helped us in supporting this with some sponsorship to be able to have this free for lawyers. Once you complete the assessment, there's a link on this page to submit the affidavit form that says you completed it, so we can give you that CLE credit. And we'll get all that. If it's not showing and you just recently completed it, we periodically go and get that form and get the list and add that attendance. So we'll get that stuff added and get it up to date as quick as we can. Encourage you to do that. We've had about 800 or 900 lawyers do that self-assessment already, and we'd love to see that go up. So it's a free way to get that hour of technology. I talked about exemptions. You'll get in the dues process, you can claim an exemption, but you can also go in and claim an exemption for 2025, whether you're exempt now or you become exempt. Fill out the information, answer the category at which you're exempt. It may ask you to upload information. It may not, depending on what you select. But that will, if you've already paid your annual attendance fee and then you become exempt in June, you're not going to get a refund of that. But if it will wipe out your CLE requirements and move you to the next reporting period and start you over. You have to do these every year. Exemptions are annual, so if you become exempt, it doesn't continue on until you tell us that you're not exempt. You need to claim it every year in the same dues process that'll just keep resetting you and moving you to the next reporting period. So that's my general presentation. I'm sure Lauren and Joe and everyone there, what kind of questions can I address that haven't been addressed in the chat? I will say that chat stays on the YouTube channel. So if you want to go and look at it anytime or refer someone back to it, you'll be able to see that live chat. So far, Lauren says we have no additional questions. Joe answered everything, so that's great. Thank you to our team for doing that. Thank you for being on here. I know that it's not it's only been 20 minutes or so, but there's no need to waste your day if there's not additional things you want to discuss. But we're standing by. We're standing by to answer questions today, but also if you have questions, please email us or call us. We are all working through this change together. I think once we get out to the other side, this is going to be a win-win for both lawyers and our staff and the CLE program. But if we're trying to do our best to give as much grace to lawyers as they navigate these new rules, and just hope that maybe you would return the favor to us and give us some grace and some patience as we work through it all. 1,500 of you, let's get those hours done. I don't know if anyone thinks otherwise, but we do not want to give late fees. We do not want lawyers to get in trouble. Our goal would be 100% compliance every year. So we hope we can get to that. Make sure you spread the word to your fellow lawyers and teams to make sure they get their hours in. We will try to send some more notices between now and the end of the month, but it's the responsibility of lawyers to make sure that you get those hours done. Otherwise, thank you. Thanks for your ongoing support of CLE and the State Bar. We are here to help for anything related to your practice, your licensure with the bar. Please give us a call, email us, go to our website, ncbar.gov. Thanks a lot. Have